Welcome, today I want to present you my e-bike conversion. Here you see the first version and here the second, which has been improved with a suspension fork. The conversion is done based on a TSDZ2 conversion kit, but be aware this is no how-to on doing the conversion. There's other YouTube videos around which doing this very good. I'm showing the final result, tips and tricks what to consider before converting it, and I'm doing also a long-term review. And I furthermore have a special for you. I have built a dual chainring conversion, so stay tuned and watch. For our e-bike conversion project, we first need a proper mounting stand where we can work with the bicycle. As my workshop is quite limited in size, I made this wall-mounted stand for the bicycle, and it's very simple. We have a hinge right here, a piece of plywood connected to it, and here is a V-shaped piece of wood where I had two boards screwed together. Here's a little bit of rubber, which is basically a part I cut off out of a rubber boot. And we have here a ring nut, and this works very simple. Right here you have a threaded bolt. See it here, the threaded bolt. It works like this. You just screw it on here. Like this. Take a wrench or something to have really fasten this and lock this. Then you take this small rope, there is a binder on it. Connect this here. And this is where we place our bicycle. Let's do it. Takes a little bit of lift it here, and there it is. And we can start to work. So here you see the Tongsheng motor already mounted, and you see it very nicely fits below this bearings here, and it's very small, and it took me about half an hour, I think, to get mounted right here. When you select a bicycle to do e-bike conversion, there are some points to consider. I will show it right here. It is a huge advantage if the bicycle is prepared for a stand. So you see here is a piece from the Tongsheng motor which holds the motor and takes the momentum, the force you're placing on the motor, so it can be transformed to force on the chain wheels here. This is a huge advantage, but I think it must not be just any possibility. You need a possibility to get the motor fixed right here, which keeps it from rotating and keeps it stable. Another very important point when you select a bicycle for e-bike conversion is you have to be sure that the model you're selecting has no cables down here. The mountain bikes from the very first series didn't consider that or had a classical cabling where the cables, like from road bikes, went down here and then went to the derailleur here on the rear, or to this. So this is a bike which is, I think, from, let's estimate, 1990 approximately, and it already has all the cabling shifted to the upper tube, so this is no problem. It's everything free here. Another point you should consider is the quality of the frame, and this is a good steel frame, so there's no problem in taking the power of the motor and having a real stable base for e-bike conversion. So this is a battery holder. This was quite a challenge to fit in the battery holder because we have the two holes which are prepared for taking the bottle holder, and those holes were placed in a way on my frame that the battery didn't fit in. So what did I do? Basically, you see the frame is very narrow here. It's a very small frame, and you can imagine that the battery you need to measure exactly to get the battery fitted in here. So what did I do? In fact, I did the following. I took the two screws from the battery holder and then added a third hole right down here, right up here, where I took a screw which is for sheet metal, biting in sheet metal, and placed right here a third screw. And with these three screws, this holds very, very good. So keep in mind, if you want to do an e-bike conversion, have a look whether the battery fits into your frame, one point, and the second point, will the holes be appropriate? Because you can do a hole like this with a screw in a steel frame, but I definitely would not recommend this doing in an aluminum frame because it's much less stable and the power of the power the screw can take is much less. So this is a critical point. Have a frame which is large enough so that your battery fits in. You don't have to do anything this. The only point is you can consider is the length of the chain. Take a new chain with appropriate length whatsoever, especially if you're an old bike. Now we come to one of the features I like most about the Tongsheng conversion set. If you buy it, it comes with an outer protection plate, which right now here is replaced with a chainring, and this is the original chainring. So with Tongsheng, you have one chainring, which can also be changed. It's a standard 5-hole chainring, and you can buy those chainrings from sizes from I think starting from 34 tooth up to 50 or something like this. So you can really make a very well working two chainring assembly with the Tongsheng drive. But before going for two chainring assembly, you have to check whether it's possible with your bike. This originally had 3 chainrings here, and with the Tongsheng, you see here is the drive unit where the power is transmitted to the chainrings and to the crank. This means the whole chainring set has traveled outside. So what you first need to do before going for a 2 chainring set, you have to check the travel of the front derailleur. So I did the following. I checked with it. Oh, there's the back. I checked it, and I checked what does happen if I'm doing the real full travel of it. So I took the screws and I shortened the cabling here so that I really did see how much is the front derailleur able to travel outside. And after this, having verified that it's able to travel fully to the outside, you can go for a second chainring. So I have a set right here with 35, 43, 5-fold, standard 5-fold chainrings, and the huge advantage of this is that if you're going faster than the allowed 25 kilometers per hour, you have nearly no resistance within this unit. So you can go very lightly, very fast. It's running like a bike without a motor. So I really like that. You can go for 30 kilometers, whatever you are able to do to bring power on. And you see here, it's working very nicely. And there's almost no resistance right here. So this really I do like about the Tongsheng. Let's have a look from this perspective on how it looks from this perspective, because it looks very nicely also from this side. Now we see it from this side. You see it's not clean because I regularly use this as commuting bike. And you see the motor nearly is hidden behind the chainring. So this is a very light, a very lean conversion, so to speak. You barely see it's running on a powered motor. You see it, of course, from the battery, but right here you don't see anything. And you see it's a standard 5-ring chainring you can mount on this. To mount this, you have to screw off this transmission unit here, get the pedals off, of course, but it's definitely no problem to do this. And you see it's a smaller chainring in, outer here, and thus you get a very good transmission set, which you can use from mountains, and in the plane also it runs very fast. Last word about this conversion. You get overall a very light e-bike, because the Kestle base bike I'm using here has, I would say, about 12-13 kilos, and the full conversion set takes about 6 kilos. 3 for the motor, 3 for the battery. So you have in total an e-bike which I think easily goes under 20 kilos, which is very good. And it's very stable. You see it, it's steel. It has a chrome moly frame. It's a great conversion. What have been the problems during the last 2,600 kilometers? Basically, there are no troubles. I had one problem. The motor support started not at 0, but it started approximately at 6 to 7 kilometers per hour. And the reason was that the speed sensor at the rear wheel was not precisely enough adjusted. So adjusting the speed sensor solved this problem. Another little bit strange problem was sometimes, I think once in half a year or 3 months, was that after switching on, the motor did not produce power. So I had to pedal very strongly at myself. Finally, I have realized that this could be a problem with the initialization or calibration of the torque sensor within the pedals. So the solution simply was switch off, wait 1 or 2 seconds and switch on again, and everything is good again. So be aware when switching on, do not touch the pedals, do not produce force on the pedals, because otherwise the torque sensor will not be correctly initialized. And that's it. No other problems during my first 2,600 kilometers. So, final verdict about this conversion. I've run right now more than 2,600 kilometers with it, and I've run through rain, light snow, and of course very hot days, and it's perfect. It's perfect. It works smoothly. It's very light. It runs, I think, 50 to 100 kilometers, depending on the support you're setting the Tongsheng to, and I definitely would recommend. So would I do this again? Definitely I would do it again. I would recommend it, but I wouldn't do it for any other person. I would always recommend, if you want an e-bike, buy one, or do the conversion by yourself, because liability for such modifications can be critical. Final, I'm very happy that I did this, and it's also kind of contribution to fight climate change, to go by bike to your work. Thanks for watching.